Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to realizing that very soon I won't have any Master Rank test guides to make. How else am I going to superinflate my content at that point? Well, bugger. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, another mastery test video. And before we get into this properly, I would like to announce that as of, well, about a week or so ago, Master Rank 30 has finally become available, which does mean, unfortunately, that at some point, these videos are going to be done and dusted for good. And what we're going to do in probably the next video or two is we're going to wrap up the final mastery tests, and then the final mastery test video will be of 30, as well as also everything that comes with it. And of course, remember that the entire point of these videos is to act as reference material. No matter how easy or simplistic the challenge is, these videos are here to give you an understanding and a basic general reference as to what goes into each of the tests, regardless of how easy they are. But as always, do make sure that regardless of what I show you, that you are testing your mastery tests via using the test mastery test button when you get the option to, or by going to Cephalon Simaris' room on any of the relays and using the alcoves to the right of his entrance to test your mastery tests out beforehand. I guarantee you that will make one of the biggest differences as to whether you come away completing these in one go or spending 5 hours on one challenge. Starting this video off with Mastery Test 27. And something you'll notice right off the bat is that at about Master Rank 27 is when the Mastery Tests decided, hey, you know what? Let's be a little bit more interesting, shall we? Master Rank 27 is the first of these tests that take a concept from the existing game and throw in a unique gimmick to try and scoot you off your feet. Master Rank 27 asks you to collect 100 points, of which you will collect these points via orbs that are scattered all over the map. And you have to do this all within 5 minutes. You'll notice that there are 2 different colored orbs. The orange orbs on the high ground will reward you with 3 points, and the blue orbs on the lower floor will then grant 1 point. Additionally, there are going to be level 25 grenade enemies that spawn initially that will try and halt your efforts. And initially, with these overcloned Muppets, they won't really pose much of a threat. But as time goes by, and as you slowly start mashing their faces in, they will slowly increase in level, and thus the potency therein. So you want to be faster and more efficient, so that you have to deal with less of a higher level Grineer type. Now, on a systemic level, this isn't really that hard. You grab the balls and win, right? But with the distance between the orbs and all the enemies popping up, and also the verticality between where the orbs are, you might actually have a bit of a struggle to complete this before the timer runs out, especially if you're being a bit too careful with things. As you get through the timer, you're going to find that as the enemies go higher level, you're going to find it harder to maneuver yourself around without getting one-punched by some random gunner that decided to pop up in front of you. You can see this as sort of like a soft cap. You have to see that this mastery test is kind of one where the faster you go, the easier you make it for yourself. So here are some things that you can do to trivialize the whole process. The first and most forefront of which is using a frame to help trivialize movement and verticality. Frames such as, you guessed it, Titania! We might as well rename her Mastery Test Chizania at this point. Anyway, also using frames like Gauss, Volt, Nova, Zephyr, and all those other frames that have the ability to traverse areas in quite quick succession will make this whole process rather easy getting between the points. The second thing, which actually not many people seem to know, is that you can use mods such as Vacuum, Fetch, or Mag's Greedy Pull to make the orbs come to you quicker. This can be done to complement your frame choice, or just be done by itself if you decide you want to use a different frame. Either way, having these on you will make life considerably easier. Number 3, keep your eyes open for the enemies. Killing the enemies that are marked orange will drop additional orange orbs. So if you feel like you can handle stronger enemies due to you killing them, then you can really up your efficiency and speed by killing the enemies that are marked. If you do this, I would recommend that you make sure you have a decently modded weapon and some survivability, as you'll be dealing with higher level enemies just by the notation of getting your orbs from the marked enemies. However, there is a dichotomy here. Not killing the enemies will greatly slow their level growth, meaning they can be a non-factor at level 25 for almost the entire challenge if you just ignore them. So make the decision before going in. Are you going to go in fully modded and kitted, killing everything and trying to get it done quickly, or are you going to go for a slow and steady pace to prevent enemies from getting too strong? Either way, this challenge is a fun one and relies more on speed and effective movement to get all 100 points before the timer runs out. How you do it is entirely down to you. Moving on to Mastery Test 28. This test is once again based on a simple concept that you would experience in the normal semantics of Warframe, but then requires you to deal with a bit of a spanner in the works to get things done within the time given. This test will ask you to kill 60 enemies. Not that hard, right? But this is where things get a little bit awkward. The enemies given are immune to the icy grip of death, unless you throw condensed thermia at them. These condensed thermias will spawn around the room for once every 30 seconds. However, if you don't pick them up within 15 seconds once spawned, they'll be destroyed. So you gotta kind of be quick at picking them up. All this sounds initially quite easy, but here's where things get a bit more awkward. The goo will only hit enemies within a small radius of the initial throw location, and on top of that, there will only be 7 canisters in total that spawn throughout the entirety of this challenge. So if you don't kill all the enemies after the 7th canister, well, that's a mission fail, I'm afraid. So, listen up, ladies and gentlemen. This is what you gotta do. Whenever you throw a canister, make sure that A, the enemies are as clumped up as possible. Running rings around them and generally rounding them up like a sheepdog will work well here. To give yourself the best chance of this working properly, I'd advise bringing a tanky frame like Rhino, Nidus, or Naros, as most of the enemies here are going to be infested melee units that hit relatively hard. So you want to be able to take a few blows whilst running rings around them. Or, alternatively, you can use frames like Nidus, Korra, Mag, Vauban to be able to manipulate enemies into a smaller condensed area using their tug-in style abilities. At that stage, it's just a case of throwing the thermia similar to how you do on the exploiter encounter on Fortuna, and hope you coat enough enemies in your sticky goo. Oh my. And so long as you're getting at least 5 or 6 enemies coated per canister, you shouldn't really struggle. It is, however, worth noting that the enemies are going to be in and around the level of 40 to 50 by the end of it all, so killing them will require some effective modding of your weapons and or frames depending on what you choose to kill them with. Seeing as you want to be grouping them up, I'd say prioritizing a well-modded melee weapon will work out best so you can cleave them down effectively and quickly after you've coated them. This mastery test is all down to, once again, effective execution and quick execution of the mechanics given. So practice before you go in. And last for today, because we're going to save Master Rank 30 for its own video where we describe what you get at Master Rank 30 and all the benefits therein, Master Rank 29. Master Rank 29 is the penultimate mastery test, and really at this stage, this will all come down to showing that you know exactly what you're doing, unlike me. Modding wise, and to also show how much you really know about the game, unlike me. This mastery test asks you to kill 100 enemies within a very tight countdown timer, starting at 14 seconds. But fear not, because every enemy you kill, you regain 2 seconds to that timer. In the most roundabout way possible, the best blunt force way of doing this is to just bring a high potency frame that can hit like a truck while taking some damage, or at least soak damage while letting your weapons do the damage for you. Either way you go, it's all going to come down to how effectively you've modded, as by the time you get to the end, the enemies are going to be in and around the level 110 mark, which really goes to emphasize that this isn't necessarily about the power you've gone for or the difficulty of the challenge. It's trying to make you realize how effectively you've modded so that you can meet the level requirement, which is kind of what the end goal of Warframe ends up being. And the level 110 mark kind of signifies the highest level relevant enemy type that you are going to face in the normal routine of Warframe, unless you decide to be masochistic and go for Steel Path, but that's a different story. Their levels will also then increase for every 10 enemies you kill, so do keep that in mind that they are going to be progressively getting stronger as you go through. Now, although you can go with anything, I'm going to have a video in the background which will be showing how I personally do this, and as well as also some other options that are going to be worth using here. My personal choice, if you want to completely trivialize the whole process, is Mesa, with a few energy plates. Seeing as you are able to use your gear wheel in this mastery test, you'll want to use your energy plates to restore Mesa's energy so that you can have your Peacemaker active at all given times. That way you can blow the enemies away in quick succession. Even subparly modded, Mesa does make this test incredibly simplistic and trivial. I'll show my modding as well in the background to give you an idea of something you can aim towards, as realistically, as I mentioned, you kind of don't even need to mod that effectively to get this to work properly, but this is probably the highest level enemy mastery test you will go into, so a good choice of frame will definitely make life easy for yourself. Alternatively, any frame with an exalted weapon or high innate power will work wonders for this mastery test as well. At the end of the day, this test just comes down to knowing how quickly you can kill the enemies without losing out on your 15 seconds of timer. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is pretty much all the mastery tests we're going to be able to do. Of course, we're going to have the Master Rank 30 test coming down the line at some point. I still need to hit Master Rank Test 30 myself at the moment, but I will do by the time I've done that guide, hopefully. At least if my professionality allows me to. So hopefully these guides have been informative for you. I hope they've been helpful. If you have a suggestion for how you would do these mastery tests yourself, please leave a comment down below. And if you would like to join our fellow Tenno here who helped me record these videos, then please do drop by our Twitch, as there will be many streams that we do which get you involved with everything we do on this channel. So thank you for watching. Look out for that Master Rank Test 30 video, and hopefully I'll get more than one video out a week in the coming future. I can't promise anything, but I'll try. And I'll see all of you top hatters in the next video. Ta-ra!